Hello, okay, so today I'm going to talk about how I created these semi-abstract landscape paintings. So I had a lot of fun making the paintings for this demonstration because I used a squeegee, which isn't something that you'd normally do with watercolour paints, but I added a watercolour medium called Aquapasto to my watercolours, and that added enough body along with some water to be able to pull the paint across the paper. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start off with the supplies that I used. Okay, so here I've got my mixing palette, which is ceramic, and then I've got my watercolour paints here. These are actually swatches of some of them. I knew which colours I wanted to use because I did this test before, so I really liked these colours together. Okay, so we've got Paynes grey in a tube, and then the swatches are brown madder, Phthalo turquoise, Antwerp blue and Cobalt blue. Now I made these swatches before and I haven't done it yet, but I think I can write on the back some information about them, which will be pretty useful. Okay, so here's the Aquapasto, which is also Winsor and Newton, and I've got my squeegee, I've got a flat brush here, and I've got tape, which I'll use to tape the paper down, and 2 glasses of water. Okay, so let's put all that aside and get the paper ready. Now I used Archer's cold pressed fine grained, and I just taped off an area which was slightly bigger than a matte cutout that I had, because I wanted to see how well this method would work with taping off the edges and to see how neat the edge could be. Okay, so because I'm using this Aquapasto, I'm going to show how I mix this with my watercolours, and I just used tube paints, but you could use paints from the pans as well, because I will be adding quite a bit of water. And I did add, this is my Paynes grey, but I did add a bit of Antwerp blue to this. And later I'll just put a splodge of the Aquapasto. Now I did actually make up quite a bit more paint than I used for this demonstration, because I made another painting, a bigger painting afterwards with this same paint, so you might not need quite so much paint in your palette. Okay, so I've got all the paint in there, and now I'm adding a splodge of the Aquapasto and I'm just mixing it in with water, and literally that's it. I'm using 2 glasses of water to try and keep the colours clean. And for my blues I'm keeping the same ones, but then when it comes to the brown madder I'm going to get new water, and this just really helps to keep the colours as bright as possible. Okay, so I'm just arranging everything on the desk, and let's get started on the painting. Okay, so I'm going to start with my Cobalt blue, and I've got a rough idea of what I want to do with these paintings, but I'm being quite spontaneous about it at the same time and making it up a little bit as I go along. I'm just going to use my brush to put a line of the paint on there, and then after get my squeegee to just smooth that line out and create some more marks within it. Now if you're giving this a go yourself, you could use the same colours or you could use different colours. The principle that I am trying to stick by though is to try and keep those lines moving across from left to right, so that there are variations within them, but because they're all moving from left to right, the eye is being taken in the same direction. Now this method just wouldn't work if I didn't have the Aquapasto in. The paint wouldn't have enough body and it would just kind of stop, and I wouldn't be able to pull it across the page so easily. I'll use this Cobalt blue on the other side as well, and I'll try and do the painting on the right slightly differently to this one. Now I'm just going to be layering these bands of colour across the page, and I'm going to speed the footage up a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm waiting for the paint, before I put the next layer, I'm waiting for the paint to dry a bit, but I'm not worrying too much about that. So some of the wet paint is mixing with the wet paint underneath. And as I drag my squeegee across, I'm varying a bit the pressure I put. And this band here is quite a good example. So I'm pulling the squeegee across, and then at the bottom bit I'm not pulling it across quite so much, so I'm getting thicker paint there, and this is actually a really nice effect, so I'm not messing with it too much. I'm just going to wipe away the paint that's gone on the tape there. So yeah, these areas here are really nice with the thicker paint, and I'm going to do a similar one on the other side. Now I'll put the music up for a bit while I work on these. Okay, so I'm starting to feel quite happy with the one on the left. I don't want to mess with it too much, but I'm going to put a bit of the brown madder on the one on the right, and that is a really nice contrast to those blue colours. Okay, so now at this point something happened to the one on the left which I wanted to talk about, because the paint that was on the tape was wet and it actually started to move back into the painting, and I only noticed that at this point, which is why I'm tilting the paper. But it's creating something called a bloom on my painting, which is where wet paint moves into less wet paint. And I didn't want this effect, and actually if I hadn't used the tape this wouldn't have happened, probably because the paint would have been pulled further away. So this is just something that I wanted to point out, because it's something to watch for when you are doing watercolour paintings. So I actually used that tissue to soak up some of that paint to stop that paint moving across. Actually it's okay because my mount is going to cover that edge. Okay, so while I finish these off, I'll just put the music up for a bit. Okay, I don't want to overwork these paintings and I'm happy with them now, so I'm going to leave them and I'll take the tape off and see how they're looking. Now I have speeded this up, but I'm doing it carefully because I don't want to rip the paper. Okay, so I'm going to take these away and cut round them and then see what we've got. Okay, so I'm really happy with these, and they've got a nice neat edge where I've taken the tape off, so that has worked. They do need flattening, and some of that colour, especially on the right one at the top, will look more flat once I've done that. Now there's just an area on this left one where I think that needs a little line there to stop that line looking like it suddenly stops. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Okay, so that's it. These are finished now and I'm really happy with how these turned out, and it was also a lot of fun doing them, so it's definitely something that I'm going to do more of in the future. And I hope that you've really enjoyed this demonstration tutorial, and if you did follow along then please let me know how you get on, and if you like the video hit like, and if you want to see similar videos in the future then please subscribe to my channel. Okay, thank you, bye.